Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today we're talking about logic. I think this will be a really interesting conversation because I think in our culture we have elevated logic to a place of to a very austere place, and I'm here to challenge it in certain respects. So I'm excited about that. But before we get started today, let's take a couple minutes to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and lighting you up from the inside out. And as you exhale any remaining stress, tension, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now in your physical body. Welcome. Good morning. It's great to be here with you again. And I so appreciate this time together. So some of you may know about Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an awesome platform for having conversations about all manner of things. And I haven't popped on Clubhouse for a long time. It's on, I don't know if it's on Android phones now or if it's still only Apple. It might be Android now. I think it is. Anyway, it's an app, and it's really quite remarkable because you get to access all different people in all different positions in society and culture and have conversations. So that said, I hadn't popped on Clubhouse for a while, and I went into this room that was having a conversation about ethics and morality. And I have to say, it was just amazing to me how this conversation, first of all, it was all guys. And the conversation was about what does morality mean? What do ethics mean? And how do we guide our behavior? And then there were conversations about logic. And traditionally, the realm of logic and rationality has been ascribed to men, and there's been a bias against the capacity of women to engage in conversation or thinking or ideation about the world. There was one person who made a statement. I was listening to this and my hackles were going up a bit, I have to say. And then there was a guy who got on and said that he thought that women shouldn't be part of national government because women can't create societies. They can create communities, and that it required a man's perspective to be able to do the broader vision of a federal type government. And I was so appalled at what I was hearing that this just capped it, and I had to jump in. And it made me think about logic and how we as a culture have elevated logic to an almost to the level of a deity. That we have believed that rationality is the pinnacle of thought and reason, right? So what defines thought, reason, logic? What I said in this conversation about logic was that it's logic that has allowed us to come into calculations that, for instance, in war, that enable us to say that we can sacrifice X number of lives in this altercation, in this military confrontation, because that's the cost of war. And we can do those calculations based on logic and reason, and that we get the emotion out of the picture. And it was so interesting because I was furious, actually, and like righteous anger at hearing these things that were being said. And one of the guys actually said to me, "I'm sorry you're so emotional about this." And I said, "I'm not. This is righteous anger." And vilifying emotion has been one of the ways that we have separated ourselves from our beingness. And in a conversation about morality and ethics, to look at the foundational righteous indignation that we might experience is an important metric for how we operate in the world, if we're operating from a place of wholeness, and to be looking at logic as the measure by which we evaluate the merits of a conversation or a discussion solely based on logic is dehumanizing. At least that's my vantage point. I'm wondering if you guys are seeing this, because I haven't gotten anybody chiming in yet this morning to say hello. So if you're out there, I'd really appreciate it if you would just sort of pop in and say hello for a minute. It looks like we're live, but like I said, I haven't seen anything from you guys yet. Anyway, I really think that we get to reassess and reevaluate our foundational assumptions about what works and what doesn't work. Because if we look at what's happening in the world right now, there are major emergencies going on, and COVID is the least of it. I think that what we get to see is how our thinking has brought us to this state, and what are the foundations of our thinking, of our reasoning, of our logic. Like part of the challenges of logic is that we can make false equivalencies. We can equate A to B when there's no relationship at all. Like that, to imagine to look at, for instance, to look at war as a chess game where we sacrifice certain resources to be able to accomplish X objective. Well, first of all, we get to reevaluate what is objective, and is that a legitimate objective to begin with? You know, like what makes us believe that that objective, first of all, is legitimate? Second of all, if we look at what the objective is, maybe there's a way to redefine it. You know, like maybe we're looking, for instance, in war at we want to be able to control this property. Well, maybe that objective needs to be reassessed and reconfigured to be, why would you want to control that area? What's the intention of that? Well, maybe there's wealth there. Well, what is wealth? Why do we want that wealth? You know, like looking at the foundational motivations for things. You know, I think I tend to be, in many ways, I tend to be logical, to rely on logic for certain things. However, there are so many places in the world where being logical isn't being sensible. And I think we can see this, for instance, in business, you know, so in the context of a business that is trying to maximize its profits, it may be logical to do things that are completely an assault on ecology. It may be logical to do things that are completely devastating to communities. You know, it's like, well, it makes sense to, you know, we need to get all these people out of the way, so we're going to disenfranchise them and we're going to take their land so that we can put this pipeline through, for example. And that may be logical from the vantage point of the pipeline company, but what is the cost, you know, and what's the objective? The objective is greater acquisition, right? The greater wealth concentrated for that particular company, not looking at the bigger picture of the consequences or the ramifications to the larger whole. So I'm all fired up about this. What can I say? I was so appalled by what I was hearing on these people say, and they're again based on logic, trying to talk about how to rule, how to create an effective society, and they were talking about three classes, and maintaining the three classes and creating a ruling class, because the ruling class is more knowledgeable about the interplay of power and circumstance, and talking about how crazy it is to allow people who are ill-informed to have a say in democracy, for example. That democracy doesn't work because in its ideal form, it's ruled by the people, and the people are not informed about what the higher mechanisms of things are. And so logic can be a vehicle, it can be a very powerful vehicle for exploration and discovery, and used improperly, and who's to say where that line is, it also can be a vehicle that separates us from our humanity in a very profound way and destructive way. So I just want you guys to know I'm not responding to your comments. I just don't see any comments. So if you are making comments, I just want you to be aware that I'm not seeing any of them at the moment. So yeah, I appreciate that we try to codify ways of thinking, ways of accessing truth. And I understand why logic plays a big part in that. However, I think when we use logic to the exclusion of our connectedness, whether that be the information that's made available to us through our emotional responses. There's such a thing as emotional intelligence. And I think that logic in isolation is at a great deficit without the information provided by emotional intelligence. So there is such a thing as righteous anger, and that's a sign. You know, we talk a lot about how important it is to recognize our emotions and the power of them and the intelligence behind them, and the learning that's available for us through them. And logic is a denial of that when used in isolation. And I think that that is a big part of what has enabled us to get to this point on the planet, that we have resorted to a purely mental exercise, and that disconnection from our sensate selves, our humanness has created a world of pain for us, and it has given us ways to justify absolutely unconscionable behavior. And one thing that was said in this conversation is that we need to change our behavior. And I think that that is 100% true. And what is it that drives our behavior? What drives our behavior is the way that we think about things to a great degree, right? The way that we're interpreting, internalizing, projecting, it's all coming from our internal thought. And I think that it's really important to cultivate deeper connection to our humanity. And that what I'm referencing when I talk about our humanity is in large part our emotional body, that is as much a part of being a human and being informed as any kind of logical thinking. You know, I do not believe that logic in and of itself elevates us. Oh, finally, somebody popping in. Good morning, Lisa. Thank you so much. And Lisa, thank you for reaching out to me. I'm looking forward to getting back to you. I haven't ignored you. I just want you to know I so appreciate that. Anyway, and thank you for chiming in, so I know I'm not just talking out into the ethers by myself here. We're talking about logic, and it's its positive and negative powers in shaping our world. I think that one of the things that we're so deeply called to do in order to create a thriving future and to clean up the mess that we're in, because there are some things that radically need cleaning up right now in order for us to survive, let alone thrive on this planet. I think that what we need to do is to go beyond logic, that we need to go beyond the box, to be getting outside the box and outside of conventional thinking, to be able to create outrageous results in the world. And I know that this is possible, and it's not based on logic. It's not logical to say that we can create a world of peace and harmony, based on evidence. I think Maggie's agreeing, or else she's responding to the intensity of my emotion. I don't know. She's got a lot to say today. If only we could translate. Maybe she knows how to solve this issue, right? Because I don't think Maggie operates on logic. And I don't, and actually, nature isn't based on logic, right? Nature has its own path. It's not something that we can say, oh, well, that was logical, in terms of adaptations or shifts and changes. And when we talk about quantum physics is anything but logical, right? So why is it that we have this deep reverence? Why is it that we have this deep reverence for logic? Why have we elevated it to the pinnacle of thought? If we start really looking at it, analyzing it. I don't think I remember her being this talkative. What do you think? Lisa, you're the bird expert. What's she saying? What is she talking about? This is an interesting topic for her, I guess. Right, Maggie? Yeah? What else? She's thinking. Anyway, I think that there's so much wisdom available to us when we tap into other ways of knowing, other ways of accessing information. Our bodies have an intelligence of their own. Our emotions have an intelligence of their own that we get to pay attention to, that we get to learn from, that we get to learn from nature and nature's wisdom and patterns. And those patterns are not driven by logic. Logic is a human construct. And I think that we have conditioned ourselves to believe that it's what makes us superior to other beings and to nature itself. And that when somebody has a logical argument, that's so much more powerful than an emotional argument. And it's used as a vehicle of domination and control in certain respects, I think. And just that person saying to me, I'm sorry you're so emotional. And of course, being the only woman in this conversation and expressing an emotion, certainly could be dangerous, because just by the context, emotion is inferior to logic. And my response was, I'm not sorry. This is righteous indignation and fury, and it's warranted. You know, so we're talking about logic. The thing about logic is that it is by definition devoid of emotion. And if it is by definition devoid of emotion, then it is by definition cutting off a well of deep intelligence that I think it's essential for us to reintegrate ourselves. We have become so attuned to the mind that we have lost the connection to heart. And certainly in this community, we are much more heart-centered and much more heart-aware. But today was such a wake-up call to how completely disconnected people can be. And so many people still are. And what a cost that is to us as a species on this planet, and what a cost it is to the rest of nature and all the other creatures, because we are so disconnected as a species. And I just wonder how we can find our way back to this place of wholeness and connection. You know, we're doing it one by one by one. And I just pray that there is such a thing as the 100th monkey principle, where all of a sudden there's a quantum shift, like quantum mechanics, where energy states don't transition gradually, they make a quantum jump. And I do pray for that for humanity. I think I see indications that we might be on the right path, you know, that energy is building, and that transition will occur. I'm steeped in the communities that are of that mind and heart. And every now and then I get a vivid reminder that we may not be indicative of the majority yet. So anyway, I don't know what has happened with the messaging today. I don't know why I'm not able to see what's going on with you guys, but please know that I wasn't ignoring you. And I do so appreciate you being with me and spending this time together and sharing and being willing to think about these things and align ourselves. Hello, Elaine. Wonderful that you popped in. Thank you. I'm so glad to see that at least somebody else was able to comment. Anyway, that's it for today. And I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And again, I so appreciate you. And please check out the other wonderful programming here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, as well as Enlightened World Living and EWN One with the Earth. You brighten my days. So thank you so much. And let's carry forward today in both heart and mind, and move toward wholeness with lots and lots of love to you.